Um, Launching in 2020 was probably nothing that I had expected. We signed our franchise agreement in Oklahoma City right before the shutdowns were announced.
Jeez.
And so from the very beginning, we faced pretty unexpected challenges. Things like securing an office, finishing construction, and even getting power turned on were all delayed. Um, I remember my kids, who were just 7 and 9 at the time, helping me paint the office in the dark with no AC in the middle of July in Charlotte, North Carolina. I would say that that probably marked the very beginnings of our family's sweat equity in the business.
Yeah.
Um, we had our soft opening on August 31st. Express sent a regional developer to me, and I'll never forget shaking that man's hand with black plastic gloves on. Like that was pretty embarrassing. That was a low point. That day, Jeff came out and he reminded me and my two-person team at the time that the only way forward was to pick up the phone,
Yeah.
because we really couldn't make any kind of in-person sales visits. We committed to calling until we booked the appointments. In the first 24 hours, we landed two people. We got two people to agree to meet with us. Yeah, that's right. Um, and the first one, I watched him do the full call himself, and then the second one, I took bait to that. So that was that theme carried us through the first quarter of 2021, and it was just, that was my reality, is 40 to 50 cold calls a day, and rinse and repeat. And luckily we were able to get some traction.
Dialing for dollars, baby. I mean, that
That's
is the
right.
nature of a B2B business because you got
Yeah.
to get the B and you really have to make appointments and go see them. I mean, it's cold calling. You could hire somebody to be an appointment setter, but it's never as good as you. So,
Oh, that's right.
I remember at the time you considered a lot of options. We looked in the beauty space. I think we looked at a boutique fitness brand and maybe considered senior care, which is, by the way, even more of a hump than your business. As I get back with people that have launched those. But I remember your goal was what drew you to this space? I'll put it this way.
Okay. What ultimately drew me into staffing and Express in particular was how closely that business aligned with my personal values. So at its core, Express is about giving people hope and opportunity, a hand up rather than a handout. So when I attended Discovery Day and I felt that commitment, in the culture, I knew that that was for me. It really resonated with me and my own background, because my family immigrated here when I was little, and like so many, opened up a restaurant, and because of language barriers and a lack of guidance, it really limited our options. So the restaurant really taught us hard work, and it instilled a very entrepreneurial mindset, but it also came along with long days and sacrifices. So I don't think about how different. I often think about how things might have been different if we had somebody to represent my parents and help them discover the skill sets that they already had, and maybe my life would have been very different. So that's why staffing spoke to me, and I chose Express. It combines scalability and community impact, and it gives me a chance to create opportunities for others every day.
And that's so important. And I always say it, and it's really hard to determine if it's true for you, and that is cultural fit matters. You
Mhm.
go through the sales process, you're talking to the rep. In many cases, the rep, the guy awarding franchises, is not anybody at the corporate team. So you do not even have an opportunity to really understand who the corporate team is until Discovery Day. And
Yeah.
that is when you can determine if you are a good cultural fit because it's a marriage. You've signed a 10-year contract. You have to agree with these people and share the same values. So it's good that you say that because I think it's super important. And from my perspective, it's very hard for me to kind of match up unless some brands I do really understand their corporate culture and I will share it. But honestly, as a potential candidate, you don't know what that's really about until you meet him face to face.
That's right.
So let's see. I remember your boys being 7 and 9, and one of the things you said was, "I really want a Monday through Friday business." Has this turned out to be that? I know you have something to say about that. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear the reality.
Oh gosh. So that's a tough one for me because the reality of this business is it does require a lot of time and presence, both in my office and also out in the community. It's not a traditional 9 to 5 where you can step away, especially in the early years. But that being said, over time, I've been able to build a pretty strong team that represents me and our brand pretty well, even when I'm not there. So whether I'm out visiting a client or if I'm out because we decided to fly across the country for a soccer tournament, things like that for my kids. That's allowed me to create a little bit more flexibility in my schedule, but that took some time to build as well.
Yeah, it always does. Um, let's get down to financials if you're willing. I found it in my notes that you wanted to replace a six-figure income. And I'm curious how long it took you, if you don't mind sharing, how long it took you to get to that point. Because I think a
Sure.
lot of people considering leaving corporate, that's the number one concern.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a full first year before we were able to meet that goal. So 6 months we broke even, and by the start of my second year, we were able to get there. So, but I will say this: I will say that in my second, by the time my second full year of business came around, there was so much pent up demand for labor because of COVID that our office, I mean, we had a pretty significant year. We made Circle of Excellence for Express for the very first time, which was a pretty big achievement. And again, some of it was due to the hard work, and some of it was just because of the circumstances that came out of COVID. So I guess that was the positive that came out of pretty unfortunate circumstances or during that year. But I would say that I lost my train of thought, Jane. Can we cut that one out?
Yeah, we'll cut it out. We'll cut it out right there. And then
Thank you.
we'll pick it up. Oh, did you want to have a finishing? Because then I have something to say after.
Um,
I think
just
you
a circle, yeah.
I think you were saying I'll cut it off after we made Circle of Excellence.
Yeah.
And I would say, I have to say, I know you're being humble, and giving COVID the credit for all the pent up demand, but it is remarkable to hit six figures in net income to the owner within a 12-month of being open. And you've done remarkably well, and it's because of your work ethic. So all right. Any regrets or lessons learned?
I don't think I have any regrets, but I have plenty of lessons learned, and I'm still, if I'm to be honest, I'm still learning every day. This journey has been an opportunity to learn who I am as a leader, as well as a person. Outside of that, because there's hard conversations that we have to have every day, right? So lots of different learnings, lots of different opportunities for me to think outside the box and get really uncomfortable. But I am a big believer that you only grow during moments of discomfort. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned my first year is, in order to gain that type of flexibility, in order to gain that type of freedom that most owners want, is to build the right team, the right culture as early as you can possibly make it, because that ultimately gives you not only the flexibility, but the ability to grow and sustain your business.
Yeah, absolutely. What's next for you? You're 5 years in. What's the plan?
5 years in, and gosh, relative to other owners that are in this business, I would say that we're just a baby. So I'm just getting started. My goal is simple: to scale bigger, to grow stronger, and to make this business even more impactful than it is today.